In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 dangers of using IBC Totes. Now, I love IBC Totes. You can see behind me, I've got all these compost bins. Here, let me swivel the camera around here. Here you can see we've got compost for like chicken manure and some weeds, and here's some, Osage oranges or hedge apples. And I just picked up these 2 the other day, and these were used as rainwater totes. But I want to show you something interesting. So the first danger of IBC totes is that over time they do become substantially more brittle, such that you could cut yourself on them, or that they might just get so brittle that they lose their purpose and their function. So for example, look here on the edge. I used a little jigsaw to cut off the tops here, but you can see that there's actually cracking. So I'm just going to show you. I'm just going to use my hand here. Ow! There we go. I almost cut myself. Didn't quite cut myself, but you can see I was able to break this thick plastic just with my thumb, just pushing on it. So now if you want your tote to last longer, I would say keep it out of direct sunlight. I think something about the UV radiation or something makes this plastic become brittle after about 2 years. Now over here we've got some totes that we got. These have been outside for probably 1 to 2 years, and they're still very flexible and very strong. So I'm hopeful, they get a little bit of shade over here, not a lot of shade, they get a lot of sunlight, but I'm hopeful that these totes will last about 5 years before I have to replace them. But I think these have been out here, these compost bins, for, I want to say 1 or 2 years. And these ones I just got, but they had been out at someone else's house, around their house, for probably much longer than 1 or 2 years. And they're substantially more brittle. This one's not too brittle. This one's quite brittle. And the other one I got from the person is actually a lot better shape. Now, another danger of getting an IBC tote, I guess you could call it a danger. It's not really a danger, but disposing IBC totes is not the easiest thing, right? They're huge, right? This is not going to fit in your typical city dumpster. And so if it's brittle, you can break it up into like a kajillion pieces and maybe dispose of it that way. If they held chemical, and I wouldn't recommend getting the kind that had chemical, the chemical can get, stored into the plastic and kind of leach out of the plastic. And it's just a mess dealing with totes that have some very flammable, very corrosive chemicals. Really not the best idea for your health to use chemical ones in general, in my opinion. But I learned that kind of the hard way. I've gotten all sorts of different totes and gotten rid of totes, and usually I'm able to get totes for maybe, totes with a cage for maybe 25 to 75, 75 maybe for like the more like water safe or like, food safe totes. The cages, they hold up really well, but the totes, you have to sometimes dispose them, and if they're not breaking down, you might have to cut them up with a saw into like a kajillion pieces. You might have to pay for disposal fees, or you might have to crack it up, and hopefully don't cut yourself. So that is the second danger of IBC totes. So I just uncovered these 3 IBC totes. I've been storing water in them for I think the last couple of years, and overall it's actually worked pretty well. But one danger is that if these are not airtight, like this one got punctured, I think by like an arrow or a spear, and some of the water drained out. And take a look at this, what happens to the water. So if you're hoping your livestock will drink this water, take a look at what color this is. Wow, that does not look like something I'd want to be drinking. So I don't know if that's algae or what, but kind of looks the color of like root beer. Now if we go over here, this one, these 2 bins, they didn't get punctured, so they were airtight, and I kept them all mostly covered. And take a look at what color water this is. Yeah, that looks beautiful, right? So this water will probably be fine for livestock or for watering plants, but that water over there does not look very good. So the third danger from IBC totes is that if you're using them to store water, the water could go bad if there's any puncture, if it's not airtight, and if it's not protected from sunshine. That's a danger. Now the fourth danger of IBC totes is the drowning hazard. So, you know, if you're storing a liquid out here and it stays out in the sun for a couple years, whatever, and this becomes more brittle, this plastic, what will happen if a little kid crawls on top of it and falls in? They could drown. So that's definitely a hazard. And that's the reason why I'm uncovering these totes, and I'm going to empty them out. I'm going to use the cages for firewood, and I'm going to use the bottles for our compost bins. And the fifth danger of IBC totes has to do with the chemicals in it. So even if you wash it out crazy good, you get some Dawn soap, you scrub it out, you pressure wash it out, you know, when plastic holds chemicals, you have to worry about some of those chemicals leaching back out. I heard a story of this football player, right? And he bought this package of Oreos that were bleached white and didn't know what was wrong with it, but he was hungry and he bought and he ate these Oreos and made him terribly, terribly sick. And what happened was those Oreos were delivered in a container that was not food safe. It was a container that was used to transport chemicals, and some of that chemical leached into the plastic and then back out through the Oreo wrapper into the cookies and made this guy super sick. And so you might think, hey, I can rinse out those plastic bottles and they'll be fine, but you run a pretty big risk of chemicals doing damage to you in the future. Also, a lot of the chemicals that are in IBC totes are often like extremely flammable, and so there's a risk there as well. And when you're cleaning it out, it's no fun cleaning out an IBC tote. I've done it. I've cleaned out some yucky totes only to decide I was just going to dispose of it and give it away for free because it was just kind of nasty. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of these companies, you know, get rid of IBC totes. The cages are very useful. They last for a long time. They're really, really good for firewood because they keep, you know, they're able to carry a lot of weight, and they're able to keep your firewood off the ground, away from the dirt. But as far as the bottles, you know, they do have a shelf life. After about 2 years, they get more brittle, and then you can start running into more issues, and dealing with chemicals is no fun. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful for you. You might be interested in checking out some of my other videos that I have about ideas on how to use IBC totes and cages. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.